Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Wentao Zhang and today I will be teaching you verbos como gustar, or put in English, verbs like the verb gustar. Now let's begin by examining some English sentences. Now, there are two. The first one says, I like the room, and the second one is, we like the books. In English, both of these above statements are grammatically correct. Now let's examine the sentences in a bit more closely. So the first sentence is composed of a subject, verb, and a direct object. So let's label that. So here we have the subject, you have the verb, and you have the do, or the direct object. And in the second sentence, we have the subject as we, like as a verb, and the books collectively as the direct object. In English, it is correct to construct a sentence in which the subject likes the direct object, as we have seen in the examples. However, in Spanish, this never occurs. The Spanish language requires a different form of construction. So here's the same sentence as the one above. I like the room. This is how you would write it in English, because you have the subject, verb, and the direct object. But in Spanish, you would say the room is pleasing to me, in which the subject is the room, the verb is pleasing, and the direct object is me. Now you should notice that both versions of the two sentences really mean the exact same thing. They're merely different expressions of the same idea. Now the two key points that you must bear in mind is that the first point is that in English, the verb modifies the thing that follows the verb. So as we see here, the verb modifies the direct object. But in Spanish, the verb modifies the thing that comes before the verb. So what's pleasing to me? The room is pleasing to me. Now looking back at the sentences that I was just talking about, the object in the English version of the sentence is actually the exact same as the subject in the Spanish version of the sentence. They're just distorted. So the first one I was talking about the room, the second one I was also talking about the room. Only one was the object while the other one was the subject. Now the second point that I have to make is that the object in the Spanish sentence doesn't matter, since the verb only modifies the subject, right? So it doesn't really matter if the room is pleasing to me, to her, to us, to them, right? It's the pleasing is always modifying the room. Thus, the only two forms that the verb gustar can take is gusta for singular subjects, or gustan for plural subjects. So here we have. So let me just jot that down. So gusta, this is for singular objects, or subjects, sorry. And you have gustan, which is for plural subjects. So with that in mind, let's move on to do a couple of examples. Alright, so in example one says, I like the book. Now we did a similar example above, in which the translation, sorry, I didn't do a translation, but the translation for example one is me gusta el libro. And the reason why it's gusta is because the book, right, el libro is singular, and because it's book and not books, right? So you have to differentiate, like we said, you have to differentiate between gusta and gustan. It basically depends on the singular or plural of the subjects, and that's all that matters. So in example 2, I say you like the book. Now, how would you translate it? You would say te gusta el libro. Now, since the book is still singular, you still use gusta and not gustan, right? Because it's only one book. Number 3, we say we like the book, right? How would we translate this? That's right, nos gusta el libro, because the book is yet still singular. Now let's move on to example number 4. I see in English I have to translate I like the books, right? In order to translate this, you say me gustan el libro, right? Since it's books, it has to be plural. And as you would recall, as I mentioned here, for gusta, you use, for singular subjects, you use gusta, and for plural subjects, you have to use gustan, right? So here, since books is plural, you gotta use gustan. Same goes for you like the books, basically te gustan el libro, right? And example 6, we like the books, nos gustan el libro, right? So as you can see, the number of people who like the books or the number of people who like the book doesn't really determine whether or not the verb is singular or plural. Thank you for watching. This is Wintao Zane teaching Verbos como Gustar.